Hey guys, Mike Adams here with Southern Woods and Waters. A little different thing that I'm doing today. I'm up in Somerset, Kentucky, right outside in Ferguson, and I'm with my good friend over here today, Damon Melcho. Damon is the owner of XTreme Bait Tanks, and as you guys probably saw me a few weeks ago, we were fishing with Rocky Drake, and we had the XTreme Bait Tank in there, also with Ronnie Leatherwood. And I just want to say, Damon, thanks for inviting us up, man. And
absolutely.
Look forward to going through your plan and hearing the story about XTreme Bait Tanks.
Be happy to show you around.
Good. And hey guys, you get to see the one that I had made too. So hang in, and we'll be back in just a second, straight from the shop. You can see we have several things from finished tanks over here. We have the gentleman over here assembling tanks. We've got another gentleman back here welding. Damon's going to take us all through this, some really great processes, and we'll show you the inside of some and where it comes from. Well, Damon, how long have you been building bait tanks for XTreme Bait Tanks?
Well, I started XTreme Bait Tanks 5 years ago with one purpose in mind: all baits, all sizes, fresh and saltwater. And to this day, that's exactly what we've accomplished. As we were going over some of the features in the tank, the whole build-a-tank concept has really caught fire, because there's no one that I know of in the industry today that can allow you to order a specific size and the features that go into the tank, not just to suit you and your boat, but more importantly, your bait. It's all about the bait. Yeah. And we really base the bait on 4 factors: the region of the bait, the size, the quantity, and the type. So depending on where you are, what kind of bait you keep, how many and how big, we can help get a tank that's going to allow you to accomplish those goals of keeping them for not only the day, but in some cases days, a long weekend, a week, and heck, in some cases even multiple weeks. Now, we've made 400-gallon tanks, but the typical tanks that we ship out on a regular basis is anywhere from 12 to 100. And it's important to understand, when we talk about the 12 or 100 or those sizes in between, that's the bait area. That's not the total capacity of the tank. And we did that on purpose because we wanted you to know what you had to work with. And as a rule of thumb, a conservative rule of thumb on bait is, because we get the question all the time, how many baits can I keep in a tank? If your bait is less than 6 inches, it's 2 to 4 baits per gallon. So let's say you have a 35-gallon tank. You're looking at 70 to 140 baits. Now, does that mean you can't put more than that in there? No, you can. We say conservatively. We want to know minimally what you can get away with. But if you put a couple hundred baits in there and you're fishing right away and you're reducing that population, you're going to be good. Now, if you're trying to do long-term, what we call long-term bait storage, you're going to want to stick within those numbers. And if you're over 6 inches, you're looking at 1 to 2 baits per gallon. So a 35 is going to give you 35 to 70 baits. If you get into jumbos, you're 1 per gallon. And we were talking about skipjack earlier.
Right.
That's a 1 per 5-gallon bait.
And these catfishermen love those skipjack.
And so do those big striper guys. Because down in Tennessee, the state record, I think, is 63 pounds for a saltwater stripe in fresh water. So this material is called HDP. It's a high-density polyethylene. What I like about the material and why we decided to stay with this was because it has food-grade properties, antibacterial properties, which turns out to be amazing for bait tanks, because you don't want stuff being able to grow up in these tanks that's going to eventually poison or damage your bait. And we have 1/2 inch and 1/8 inch material. The 1/2 inch are our tops, bottoms, and lids. The 1/8 inch are our walls. All of our tanks are built with a 1 inch air pocket, so we have an inner and outer wall. And the difference between the black and the white, for the purpose of making tanks, we use white on the outside because we don't want to draw heat to the tank on the outside. The inside black can be done versus the white, which we discovered about 4 years ago will blind the bait. Since black absorbs light, broad daylight, lid open, you have a current inside that tank. By removing their vision, they're much more calm. The biggest thing that I was telling you earlier that you'll notice right away is if you've ever dipped bait and they'll run from the net, if they're in a black-walled tank, you can see the bait you want, but they don't see you coming. You can just pluck them right out. The router, been amazing. Randy's what I call our computer whisper guy. I can give him a design, and we were talking about how we come up with this and that's, what's getting on boats, and people asking me, can you do this or that? So I'll come to Randy and I say, Randy, here's what we've got in mind. He goes to his computer, he'll design it out. It's got a little chip he plugs in there, hits go, and this machine will cut it out. And once that's cut, he'll shelf the tops and bottoms. These are our walls that we end up coming together, we bring in to make the circle for the wall. And that's also important because we were talking about boat and live wells. A boat manufacturer may call a live well a bait tank. Yeah, you can put bait in it, but it's really not a bait tank. For us, there's some very important factors. The circulation of the water, the filtration of the water, and the putting oxygen in the water. So all of our tanks will circulate, filter, and oxygenate, giving that bait an amazing environment to thrive. But also, there's no corners. You cannot have corners. Bait will get hung up, they'll get red-nosed, and they'll end up dying, and you don't want to use that for bait even if they are alive. So when we make our walls, they're all circular inside, nothing to get hung up on. And if you want to look at how that wall comes in, I'll show you this. So the first process, Mike, is cutting the base. And these two grooves are where the walls go into before we make the weld. And a lot of people ask about the strength of a weld. If it's done right, which these are, it's almost like welding steel. It's the strongest part of the tank. So the first wall that we put in is the inside wall, and we do an inner and an outer weld. Then, as you saw there, we fill this with water as is to ensure that we have watertight integrity. Once we're comfortable with that weld, the second wall goes on, which is right here. That 1-inch air pocket that this creates is the insulator. Heat prefers a solid surface to transfer through, so by having that 1-inch air pocket, that air pocket breaks up the transfer of heat and allows you to get through the day without your tank heating up. People ask about drains. We can custom place drains. So on this one, we have a lower and upper, and the reason that people will put an upper drain in is for a partial water change. As I said, they'll circulate, filter, and oxygenate the water, but you have to manage the ammonia and the water temperature. And there's a couple ways to managing ammonia. One is a water change. You can flush that out with new water. The other one, with the temperature, you can do the same thing. If you have access to colder water, you can add new water that'll bring that temperature down. Or there might be a chiller unit. We do chiller units for bait and tackle stores, home units where they can disconnect a chiller to the tank, drop a probe in here, set the thermostat, and it'll manage that temperature as well. We use a 200 micron aquatic filter sock. These bags are designed to catch all the solids. It will not remove ammonia, but anything, the poop, the scales. You want your water to be as clean as possible, because if you don't, that stuff's going to get caught up in the bait scales, and that's very bad for the bait. So when you're done for the day, you just simply untie them, turn them inside out, rinse them, let them air dry, and you'll get an entire season out of these socks. Do not let them dry dirty. We wanted to come up with a way that you could catch bait on a Thursday night and fish all weekend long without worrying about your 12-volt pumps, and that's where we came up with the 110. So with these tanks that have the 110, you use your battery for the day, go catch your bait, and when you come back to the dock, you plug it into a GFI outlet, the 110, disconnect from your battery, sleep well knowing your tank's running, your batteries are charged, you wake up, repeat.
All right, so now we're going to look at the finished product and see exactly how it works. And this is the tank that was custom made for me that will be going home to Muscle Shoals.
On a 12-gallon tank, it's one 12-volt pump. Yours has two because we wanted a built-in backup. And when we do that, we actually put in a different directional flow on the second one. So this is what we have, which is called the infuser cap. And that water comes out like a Y. And you're talking about the air line's right here. I'm gonna block that air off and you can get an idea. The water's still turning over, but that shows you how that venturi will microscopically break up air and raise the dissolved oxygen in this tank. Now, you can also unplug these two and go right over to your spray bar. So if you have threadfin, shrimp, or minnows, the spray bar is a great option for that bait. And you had a question about cleaning them. You don't need any chemicals. This material is phenomenal. We just take a little magic eraser, wipe down the sides, and fresh water rinse it. And if you have, well, most people add salt to the water, but if you're offshore and you have salt water, it's a good idea too to put fresh water in here and blow that through your pumps just to get that salt water out.